Welcome back to the Crypto Simps podcast, of which this is episode number 20. I'm joined here, as always, by my friend, Mr. Jason Pizzino. And of course, you can check out his links in the description below, assuming that I do recall to put them down there. But I've been pretty good about that recently, so we're all good in that case.
You've had 1 week in a row. Come on.
Hey, you have to start somewhere. All right, give me some right here. But speaking of starting somewhere, man, talking about Bitcoin price action right now, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this current little consolidation. I feel like we're probably on the same page with this, but it seems very steady to me, and also interesting that the more that Bitcoin tends to go sideways here, the more and more that I see the ever ongoing seesaw on crypto Twitter go from bullish to bearish to bearish to bullish. And, yesterday was actually rather profound, I thought, just because, Bitcoin had actually one of the smallest ranges on, a 1-day trading schedule. And people seem to generally turn quite bearish on that move, which was like a nothing move. Like, look, I'm happy to be bearish, but I don't know if I necessarily saw it right there. But anyways, man, what are your thoughts?
It took out the lows of the previous 2 days, and then it closed higher. So
the weekend.
They were bearish intraday, and then all of a sudden it closed higher. Just flavor of the hour, really.
Right. Yeah. Good luck getting the general trend by looking at a fucking 15-minute. So
I did a post on YouTube yesterday. I said a poll: are you guys selling altcoins on this rally? Half the people not half, but a third, I think, said yeah. The other 70% said no. And then you had all the comments like, what rally? I'm like, the run of the medium term that we've been going from 37K to 48K. Like, that's the rally.
In case you haven't noticed.
I think they were thinking of the daily rally. Like, what happened in the last hour? I haven't seen a rally.
That's the thing, though, man. It's like we have such a recency bias that that's a 30% move off the lows, like a more than 30% move off the lows. And it's just like no one even cares. We're so spoiled and so focused on, what's happening at this exact moment. I mean, that's kind of I guess that's like the TikTok generation, right? We can't really focus on anything more than like 7 seconds long or whatever it is. Anything more than that, just go in one ear, out the other, and it's
9 days at similar prices just ticks people off. I'm looking at my chart on this side here. I reckon. Can I just say we have a pretty good Simps costume going on here. I decided to put some muscles.
Love it.
Shirt. You've got your man bun.
So amazing. Fashion icons, man. Amazing. Just amazing. Yeah. Yeah, man. I have to have these blue blockers on my my eyes, giving me a little bit of issues today. So figured I'd give it a bit of a rest there. But yeah, man.
You had the surgery, hey?
Yeah, that surgery was a while ago now, but I don't know, man. Just every once in a while, your eye wakes up with a little bit more pressure, and I don't know, you just feel like staring at the screens probably isn't helping all that much, right? I'm sure you get that as well, man. Like I feel that way at the end of the day, where my eyes are dried the fuck out, and it feels like something's wrong, So for me, it's I try to take a bit of precautions right there. Also try to turn off the damn electronics, an hour or two before bed, but that's basically impossible. So
too addicted to TikTok, I guess.
Dude, I've actually managed to stay off of TikTok. Thank fucking God, man. But I still look at the Twitters, I still look at the YouTubes, I still look at the Instagrams. So I'm gonna make a concerted effort to really stop Twitter, or at least use Twitter in the way that only I use Twitter, to post things rather than just reading tweets. Because what I've just noticed and come to realize is that I'm just scrolling for the sake of scrolling, and it's like I'm looking for stuff that I'm not even interested in. And if something's really a big deal, it'll probably come across my screen anyway. So fuck it, man. I don't need to see a million goddamn opinions about the topic of the day. It's just, it's not helping.
Exactly. Your tweets are killing it. You guys that are watching, your viewers, your loyal subscribers. I mean, look, they love when you post about a daily Gaussian and a Bitcoin silver cross. I don't know what any of the fuck these things are.
I try to just make it as simple as possible, take my opinion out of it. Just here's the data, here's what I'm looking at, take it or leave it. I'm sure people are having diabolical fights in the comments over it, but it's look, man, and here's just what I don't get. It's the people who make fun of other people for being bullish or bearish or whatever, it's like, dude, you don't have to make fun of that other person, because if you're actually fucking trading, then you're making money off of it regardless of whether they agree with you or not. It's like, what's the purpose of this? I'm gonna bully you basically into accepting my opinion as what should be your opinion as well. It's like, you don't need to do that for the market to go in the direction that you think it's going to go in. In fact, if you're truly confident in your positions, if you're truly confident in your trading, you should give zero fucks about the silly position of someone else, because first off, you probably have different preferences to begin with. I mean, you could both be right, to be fair, and just talking past each other. And then second off, in a more like sinister manner, you could be like, yeah, man, you should be bullish right here while I'm selling in your face. Although it probably doesn't really matter all that much with a market this big, or and vice versa from that, man. But it's just a waste of time.
Exactly. We were trying to steer away from, having that view
the negativity,
the negativity, because I had it even
positive
today.
Vibes only.
Positive vibes only. Yeah, man. What? All right. Before we get to the positive vibes only, let's see if we can spin it in a positive light. I asked for altcoin picks on my Twitter account, right? It's just like altcoins for April. What's the highest pick? What do you want to see? I love doing some TA on a crypto that people are loving.
Okay.
Phantom was the winner, but there was a big list of tweets from people wanting freeway token. FWT. Do not go out and buy this thing at all based on what I'm saying this. Man. And I just said, it's just those typical tweets. They all look like scams. And then, I said, I didn't include freeway tweets because it looks like a scam token with the way people are back like that in their bios.
Oh, you done did it now.
I know. I did it now. And it's like, typical. You did no research on it and just called it out. I'm like, dude, the last 5 years of cryptocurrency, the same.
90% of the shit. Yeah.
99%. The tweet is written exactly the same as the scams over the last 5 years.
Right.
That's the research. And I quickly watched an interview with, I think it was a CEO or someone who created it. Man, it sounded so scammy coming from them. It was like it hit all of the headlines. This is a great update.
Buzzwords.
All the buzzwords, not to get scammed. All the buzzwords, fully regulated exchange. The first ever insert the
Is
name.
it also green as well?
I have to check, but it did have very high returns.
That's very popular right now.
Any cryptocurrency and get 20 to 40% per annum.
Amazing.
Like, wow, this sounds amazing. Too good to be true. And then you can all have referral links and get,
right on. Yeah. There you go. There you go. I mean, that's the thing in cryptocurrency, in the crypto land, like, assume scam first. Just assume it's a scam. It's a scam until proven otherwise, basically.
That's an amazing tweet. I
mean, look, I come from 2017. I believe you do as well. 90 or more than 90% of these projects that we came in on that cycle, they're just irrelevant now. They're not dead. They don't really die, but what happened to like OMG token? That was super popular, or Neo, right? The Chinese Ethereum, it's just gone. It's irrelevant. And that's what's going to happen to 90 to 95% of the shit from this cycle as well. And it's just the way that things go until, I don't even know if that'll ever truly stop, because you still have like penny stocks even when things do get fully regulated. So perhaps that's just it's just a moot point, and that's just what you're dealing with in the space. But I feel like,
do you think regulation is actually going to stop any of the BS, the scams?
I think regulation will stop it on like a mainstream consumer level, but obviously you're still going to have back market bullshit. You still have penny stocks, you still have OTC markets, even though you have your regular, regulated traditional markets as well. So I think it'll just kind of be on that. And then, every once in a while, one of those penny stocks, they'll end up being legitimate, they'll go big, and, people who invested in it will be absolutely, absolutely wealthy, assuming the conditions are right. But for the most part, most of them going to be irrelevant. So I suspect that that's where things are going to go. Because I don't know if you can ever truly stop exchange, like these backwater exchanges kind of listing things. It's just, and also the regulating authorities, they don't have the resources to really go after them unless it truly makes sense. And at that point, you know, they'd really have to get like quite big. So there's always be a market for that, man. Like people just love people. There's just a certain subset of people, in fact, a rather large subset of people that just, they like that, man. They like that. It's more fun. It's more engaging than going to a Vegas, for example. And you can do it in the confines and comfort of your home. So even better. So that's kind of the way that I see it, man.
Easy.
Yeah, way too easy. And you know, I've been susceptible to that in the past as well. When I first came in 2017, man, I got really involved with with a couple of shitcoins, I believe. One of them was XLM Stellar. Never did anything. never did anything. And I believe at the time, yes, it's still out there, and people every once in a while will ask about it, but it's, as far as I'm concerned, completely irrelevant. The other one was
pretty much looking at the chart. If you guys are wanting to know, the Bitcoin pairing never, like, so XLM versus Bitcoin never made it to a new all-time high this bull market, and
good luck with that.
It has just it's so close to hitting a new all-time low. It's so close to like breaking the January 2021 low. So it's just like it's been absolutely crushed by Bitcoin, and the dollar value is just not much happened there.
It would be like, even if you're an investor, terrible investment. If you're a trader, there's much better things to be trading, basically. And then the other one that I kind of got wrapped up in at first was Litecoin, actually. You know, another one that's just like, dude, the Litecoin community, that like anytime this is going to start World War III, but anytime I mention Litecoin, you know, I generally talk shit about Litecoin because it's a terrible chart. Like it's just not interesting. It's not great. You know, there's several things that are just better. Anyways, anytime that I do talk about it, though, there's always at least one person who will send me like a very long email. It's always email too, which is very bizarre. You know, talking about my responsibilities as a person on the internet to not talk shit about Litecoin, basically.
Hey, if you get an email after this stream, please, let's read it out next week. You know, I think we started with this with not saying anything negative, and then we've just turned it like
it's only negative today, baby. It's opposite day, so just invert the fucking negative. We got a double negative that makes a positive, no problem. Yeah, man. You know, it's just, I don't know. It's always funny. It's always interesting to me. So I expect that we always kind of, you know, come back to it a bit. But yeah,
Litecoin, it is on a perpetual bear market. It's been on a bear market since it was released against BTC. So LTC, BTC, it hit new all-time lows last month. New all-time lows. It's never made it higher than that. I thought it would have a chance.
Saddest charts.
What's that? It does make
it's such a sad. The Bitcoin pairing chart is just abysmal. I'm even getting signals for continuation to the downside from here. So you're already at all-time lows. Might as well go lower. You know, just garbage, man. The dollar pairing, you know, not as bad. Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like
we're laughing at the chart. That's how nerdy we
are. Right. And that's the problem, though, is that, you know, criticizing a chart gets conflated with criticizing a person or a person's ideology, which is not the same thing. You know, you always want to separate the two things. Like, look, you're a person. You are not the same thing as Litecoin. So when I criticize Litecoin, it's not you, man. It's all good. It's all good. And you can criticize, you know, stuff as well. We're all free to do that, right?
What's something that you have been? No, you haven't been criticized, but what's something that you've taken to heart that's part of your identity and someone's criticized?
Dude, one of the like that's like really affected me. That's a really good question, man. Jesus. I'm sure there's definitely some things, like when people talk about appearance, for example, that's always, it's like, okay, dude, like, thanks for your opinion on that. But I don't know if that necessarily affects me all that much. Yeah. I don't know if that like truly affects me that much, because I don't really, it's not a big deal. But as far as like, you know, like what makes me the most, what really like grinds my gears, what rustles my jimmies is when, like, the worst thing, honestly, is when I'm right on my analysis and then someone will say, you're wrong. It's like, no, dude, like, what are you talking about? Like, that for some reason really grinds my gears. You know, the times when I'm actually wrong and I get it wrong and someone says, hey man, that was a bad analysis, you got it wrong. I'm like, that makes sense. But I think really just the kind of like the injustice, man, of being shunned for something that, you know, was correct, you know, is always, I don't know, man, just that probably feels the worst. Other than that, you know, I mean, people are entitled to their opinion. So I kind of just like to let things go by the wayside. You know, people can be as mean and as, you know, disrespectful as possible. And I try to look at that, you know, yeah, it might have a bit of an initial sting, but I try to also look at that as like, you know, this person just having like an emotional response to something that I said and probably not really anything to do with me. And they're also entitled to that opinion anyways. And, you know, that opinion, it doesn't change anything about me. It doesn't constitute who I am. It doesn't change, you know, the traits that I identify with. So, you know, they're allowed to do that in a free society. And I'm also allowed to just be like, all right, well, that's your opinion. And, you know, that's fine. That's fair game. I mean, what about yourself?
So what Eric was just saying there, guys, go onto his Twitter and just say that the analysis is bad. It'll trigger him every single post. Dude, that was terrible analysis. Honestly, that triggers me too. I'm like, what are you on about? It went in the direction that I was talking about. It's, you know how hard it is to like predict something, and then you consistently get it right, you know, 70, maybe 80% of the time, depending on the time frame. Obviously, you got to look at the time frames, and you're like, "What are you on about, dude?" But yeah, that does affect me too. I guess in the past, what did I let affect me? I probably say things like diet. You know, when I was in the whole vegan space.
Oh man, now you've done it. Yeah,
I know, right? That's what I was thinking of. But no, I think that the TA now, because you're like, you put in so much time and effort, and you're like, I'm actually producing results and profits. And then you say it's wrong. I'm like, what are you on about? Anyway,
it almost calls into question your own reality, because you're like, wait, hold on. I know that I got that right, but maybe I said it wrong or something like that. But, you know, then again, if it's only like a few people out of, you know, tens of thousands, well, that's just naturally going to happen, man. It's destined to happen.
And you think about there's other people who get triggered as well, because they're trying to build their following. And so it's like, you know, like they know that, well, they might be a better trader, but they're so triggered that you have a bigger reach that they're just like, shit, this is so wrong. And like, wow, all right, just keep producing and you'll be fine. Like, spend more time on your work and you'll grow bigger if you are that good.
Right. And that's actually a really good point right there. And then just more to that point, it's like, look, if you're so good at this, like, you should be quite happy with your results to begin with, you know, just from like actually trading, assuming that, you know, you do it. Because I think that's really where a lot of things on YouTube and Twitter come down to it. It's more about your reputation, your clout, all of that sort of a thing, rather than what you're actually doing. So to me, that's kind of an indicator that, hey, this person, you know, is either not trading that much, they're not trading much size, you know, they might have another job, which is fine, but they're not necessarily who they say they are, and they're kind of putting on a bit of a front, and it's usually an indicator to me that that person is not legitimate. So it's just best to ignore, in the same way that you'd ignore like a medical advice from someone who's not, you know, your doctor, for example. Just like, okay, well, whatever. And even just more to that point, like, you know, the average person, especially when they're coming into trading, for example, they don't understand the role of technical analysis or fundamental analysis or quantitative analysis, whatever edge you might be using. There is no predictive power at all, or at least in my opinion, predictive power at all in technical analysis or any sort of an edge. There's no way to say price action will do exactly this because of this reason by this time.
Yeah, when 100%. You use the word what'd you say?
Predictive.
Yeah, predictive. You're saying that there's no way to say it 100%. That's really what, because like, so maybe that's my interpretation.
Well, let me explain where I'm going with this, and then maybe it'll make more sense. But basically, the role of whatever edge that you might be using, or at least in the way that I found it to work and to make this as a living with technical analysis, and you could apply this to quantitative analysis, maybe even fundamental analysis, probably maybe less so, but hey, it could probably be done, I suppose. Is that your edge just gives you a probabilistic advantage as to what to do in a specific situation. There is no predictive power as to what's actually going to happen. So let me give an example. I use the
word like no guarantee, because guarantee to me, the word is like 100%. Guarantee is like, what is the guarantee of this? A guarantee is basically what they use in scams. You're guaranteed 40% per annum if you put your crypto here. Whereas prediction is like, there is some leeway in either, it happening, or there being a possibility of it not being 100%. But
I see what you mean. I think we're talking past each other, because what I mean to say is that when I'm trading and I'm using technical analysis as my edge, it could be something as simple as like, hey, I have this moving average here, and this is like not a good way to trade, by the way, but just for example's sake. But I have this moving average here, and I've done a statistical analysis on it that anytime price action has come down to it or to it or whatever the fuck, it bounces X amount of percent. On average, 51% of the time, or whatever it might be. Again, that is not a good example of what what a real plan is.
Basically,
but
you're looking at a chart, and like if the market comes down to touch this particular indicator,
like I have an edge there. I have an edge there that I can make a trade off of. But I can't just say price action will go exactly to this area. Like I don't really think that there's a way to do that. There's just probability statistics and nothing really else. So what people think when they typically come in fresh to trading and technical analysis or whatever edge they might be using is that you can just, based off of anything at all times, you can just predict what the next move is going to be, which I don't think you can do at all. I think that price action is
not guarantee. You can predict, but you can't guarantee what the next move is going to be.
Right. Well, yes, because price action it's not random. I don't think price action is random. I think that's actually a misnomer, but it is unpredictable in a way. It's not like, look, exactly. Because I mean, you see, yep, go ahead.
I was going to say the pressure by maybe new people. I don't know. I don't poll every single viewer, but the pressure put on TA, I find it's so different to news. You can literally just come on YouTube, start a news channel, talk about all of the headlines, and say, I think this is going to be good because it's what's happening. And people, they don't really bat an eyelid to it. It's like, let's call Cardano. It's smart contracts are coming out,
so whatever. Price action will go here. That can't be done. That cannot be done. I don't think that can be done.
Because where humans come from, it's like, oh, I can see this, put this together. That makes sense.
Yeah. But the thing is that, look, none of this shit makes sense, okay? Yeah. We're talking about Bitcoin that trades at $46,650 fucking dollars, and it doesn't do shit. Basically nothing. Okay, you can use it in El Salvador. Does anyone even know where El Salvador is? That's what I fucking thought. Look, it's better than ever, but the thing is, the big mistake that a lot of people make with trading or any sort of analysis is that it should make sense. You don't need a rhyme or reason. None of it makes sense, dude. Just go to traditional markets and trade a stock into an earnings report. If they beat their earnings report, if they do better than the estimate, stock goes down. If they do worse, stock goes up. Nobody fucking knows what's going to happen. There's no way to goddamn know. So it's just a game. It's just a massive game.
Then a narrative is discussed afterwards. It's like the stock earnings good for company should have gone up. It didn't go up because now we'll come up with another story as to why it didn't go up.
The thing is, it doesn't matter what the reason is, because there's just a multitude of actual reasons to the point where you could never truly know. And even if you did, you wouldn't know what to do with it to begin with. If you knew the earnings report beforehand, you wouldn't know what to do with it. You wouldn't know what to do with it. If you knew it before anyone else. Exactly. Like if you are an insider, if you had that insider information, you still wouldn't know what to do with it. You probably wouldn't make the proper trade anyways.
Well, that's other information as well.
Well, it depends. Of course. But just for example's sake, I
mean, some of the best stuff that I've learned from is other people's experiences, because and like reading about legendary traders, and I bring up that because I'm reading Pitbull at the moment. Have you know that book, Pitbull?
No, I'm not familiar with that one, but what's the synopsis?
Marty Schwartz. Do you remember that? Okay. That guy's a trader. He's a Jew.
We all know each other, just like black people as well. Highly racist. Sorry. Look, it's a bad humor, all right?
It's like from those days where you had Paul Tudor Jones.
Okay.
And that's about as all I can remember. But basically, market wizards. Who wrote that? Jack Schwab.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Marty was in that time as well.
Gotcha.
So reading about their experiences. Oh man! And I said this to my mate
Okay.
Oh, I've got this here. Wait, guys, it's really, really interesting because it has to do with like the gold rush and the the gold bugs of nowadays. I was reading this, and he's bringing up a story of the 1970s, and it's almost like word for word what's happening now for gold. Gold at that time was going up, like we're seeing gold go up now. And then he's saying here, this is written, I think 1999 or 2000, but he's remembering back in 1974, gold was at 500 an ounce. And he's like, these things aren't worth 500 an ounce. The price of gold kept going up as the fear of inflation drove more and more people into hard assets. Financial bestsellers were coming out, predicting the end of the world. This stuff that's 50 years ago. And it just keeps happening time and time again. So learning about like people's experiences, it opens your eyes up moving forward because we're seeing the exact same thing now. Gold, the world has to come to an end. Crypto is going to take over. Bitcoin's going to take over. The US dollar is going to collapse. And you're like, how many times have people heard this in the past different generations? That helps. That helps figure out what's going to come next.
That is rather profound. Yeah. And there's one thing that I trust in fully, and that is evolutionary psychology. There's just no way that we're getting around our human brains that we all have, which leads towards these, trends basically that you're kind of describing right there. Because we've been evolving with these brains for hundreds of thousands of years. And you're never going to be able to get away from that. Even if you're like a fucking monkey, you still got that goddamn brain, which is, riddled with all of these like conditioning for, much longer than we could even possibly conceive of. So that is something that I strongly believe in the sense that, you're always going to see those trends. They might not be the exact same, but what's the old saying? History doesn't repeat, it rhymes. And you're just saying the exact same thing right there. And that's like perfect because I truly I have a conviction that is 100% true. And that's something that you can always be reliant on. And that is, really what we're kind of looking at on the charts anyways. We're just looking at, the repeating trends of human psychology in kind of a collective manner almost. It's not going to be perfect, but it works good enough. Like that's all that you can really hope for.
It's not good enough for some people. I'm just looking at the monthly chart for Bitcoin, and these moves up are getting a little small, like the monthly candles or bars, whatever you like to use. What are you liking on Bitcoin? Like the next price before we get rejected and have a correction?
I think you got three. I think you got three major areas where you're going to play out a 20% correction, or maybe like a full-on reversal into like a real bear market, which we actually haven't seen yet. One of them would be where we're at right now. I think that's less likely, but hey, if Bitcoin comes back down and let's say it closes the daily below about 45, I'll actually be there. At least for like a 15 to 20% correction. What I think is a lot more likely though is around $51,000 to $52,000. That's kind of a big area for myself for at least a decent pullback. The big one, however,
that's where you think the market has to go up to that point to test that level. Before potentially getting correction, or basically it's a test point at that in the market.
Yeah. And then the big one for me is about $56,000 to $57,000. That's the one where I'd very likely be expecting just a 20% pullback there just because. And potentially like a major bull trap around there if it is going to happen at all. So that's kind of the way that I think about things. Like, again, I'm not saying that price action is going to go there. It's like, if it goes there, I have a bit of an edge there. I can play a pullback. That's a tradable event as far as I care. So that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. As far as like the monthly candles being, just smaller, I don't really actually pay too much attention to that. I just look at it as one massive consolidation for the past year. And it's like, anything within there is irrelevant on the macro as far as like, trend goes right now. Below 60, nothing. Above about 30, 35, also nothing until you start to trade outside of that range. It's like, all right, you got a big old, you just got a big, massive range here. And the reason why we get so, emotional about this is because the numbers are so big. What other assets trade for like $50,000? Very few, if any. So, we just get kind of emotional about it because the numbers get bigger and bigger. But if you think about it in terms of percentage, it's kind of been this par for the course, just different numbers. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at on that, man. Yeah, but go ahead.
No, I'm kind of similar. I've just been blasting on about $51,000 for weeks and weeks now because we had that low come in January. So my halfway point between 69 grand and 33 grand is about 51 grand. So I'm just looking, waiting, watching this market come back towards 50%, as it has done throughout history. Continues to bounce on and off 50%. So yeah, that's kind of like my next critical level up there, and I want to see how the market responds to that price. That's going to be a key point.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that. It'll be very telling how deep the pullback is from that region, because, I think any pullback from that region down basically back to like $45,000, kind of where we're at right now, would be okay. But anything further than that is where I start to look at that as, oh shit, this is actually one macro bull trap, and this actually is quite bearish long term. But I do think that Bitcoin probably gets another try up first, because to me, and tell me if you agree with this, but certainly recently I've been noticing a lot more popularity with bearish posts and a lot more popularity with just bearish analysis in general on all forms of social media. I've tested it out myself. With my titles, I always like to, do a little bit of research with that. But what's actually very helpful in one of the few uses of Twitter is to gauge what's getting promoted there and what's getting the most engagement, because that actually, I think, does represent the crowd rather well. And it definitely feels like the last week and a half has been a lot more on the bearish side, which, I don't know, have you seen the same thing, or do you agree, or is this kind of my own bubble that I'm living in right now?
The bearish posts have been doing okay, because you had the 30th of March was down, a nice big down day on the 31st. Then you had a spike again on the 1st of April, but it closed higher. So depending on what time of the day you were posting, people were pretty bearish. Then the market ran up on the 2nd and still closed down. The same thing happened on the 3rd of April. Yesterday on the 4th, it still spiked down. So I can see why people have been interested in the bearish side of things, because the market's just not moving. It's a good point that you make in regards to Twitter. I hadn't thought about doing that, where you just post and see what people are interested in, and then you sort of tailor that towards the YouTube titles and headlines. I mean, obviously the viewers here are watching us because they know what we talk about. We shit talk, we talk about all this sort of stuff, and that's pretty much the game. And you are clicking on with the game just as I am. The most of the posts that I see on Twitter are like crypto, which altcoin now? Bitcoin 100,000 this month. I'm like, that gets so much engagement. I'm like, what? I don't get it.
It's that, man. I feel like those guys are starting to veer off as they start to. I think they've started to realize that they've maybe milked this market as much as they can, and I'm seeing like a lot of those Dubai boys is what they're doing is they're starting to switch over to being like just general rich people influencers. I guess I don't know the technical term for it, but for example, I saw that Carl the Moon, he has another channel now where he basically just makes videos about being like really rich. He's like, hey, check out this new car, or check out this new watch, check out this private jet, stuff like that. And it's actually, to be honest, it's fucking interesting, to be honest with you. Like, I've watched a few of those videos. I'm like, it's kind of cool. Maybe you should continue to do this. This is good. This is good stuff. But yeah,
get your breath back.
It seems like they're starting to move on a bit, because they're starting to get like a lot of hate at this point. And I mean, what further are they going to go towards? They're already at the top of the game right now. I mean, they're the apex accounts basically. What more is there for them to
consider them apex accounts? Because obviously you have ones that are over a million now. So they've sort of like shuffled down. Yeah, they've shuffled down the list. If we're ranking people here with our egos and all that sort of shit, but if we're just looking at it purely from a business point, go on.
Yeah, well, they're doing. I guess maybe to make that statement a little bit more complete is that they're the top accounts that are trying to do like analysis. Basically, the other 1 million plus subscriber accounts, they're more like, we're going to feed you the news and then a narrative with the news, and that's why we're bullish today. It's not necessarily like, hey, we have this set up over here, even though, you might not agree with their analysis, at least, they're kind of trying there. Which is why I honestly really, truly understand why people in general hate technical analysis, because they think of it as like what those guys do. I'm just like, you know what? I hate that too, man. I agree. Yeah. It's not that I hate it. It's just, I don't think it works, and I don't think it's relevant. but yeah, man, that's which might be even worse. But yeah, man, it's
yeah.
It's
just reminiscing.
It's just interesting to me, man, that you can actually make it as just a rich person. Like you're just going to rest on your laurels as like, hey, here's what I have. Check this out, and I'm going to make my sort of identity around that now. I mean, that seems like a really deadly game to play, because there's always going to be someone who's more rich, and also like, you know, except for like the initial excitement, it's like, where do you go with that? You know, you spend like another $1 million on another watch. It's like I don't know, man.
But like how boring would that be to talk about in a video?
Right. And I mean, you know, like I said, I've been around those guys.
Here it is.
and quite literally, the topic of conversation almost always is money. Like it really is how they kind of portray themselves on video. They always come back to how much this cost and what they're going to buy next and how much money they're going to make next as well. It's really bizarre to be immersed in when you haven't really experienced that yourself, like, or you're not really exposed to that too much yourself. I mean, but these guys, like, they truly are quite rich from what I can tell. So it's just different lifestyle, man. Like taking private jets and places.
Yeah, if you had to have a second channel, what would you promote on that second channel? What would you do?
I actually do have a second channel. I just don't use it anymore, but I had a gaming channel where I just like post video or, you know, like gaming reviews and whatnot. Cause I was getting
reviews.
Yeah, I was kind of getting bored with this basically in like 2020 because things were rather slow. You know, I was mostly holding myself, so I didn't really.
When was the last time you posted on that channel?
Oh, it's got to be like half a year now, a while. Yeah. So I've kind of stopped it because like I just don't find it. I honestly I started to like really hate it, honestly. So gaming. I stopped. Not gaming, but doing the channel, and then it's just like I want to do other things besides gaming. You know, I don't want to lock myself into that hole. And the whole idea behind it was supposed to be like just a fun little endeavor that I could do on the side because, you know, I'm at my computer quite often anyways. But I don't know, man. I've kind of resolved to trading that for more just life experiences, which I think is I've just been having a better time doing that. So to me, that's better.
Getting out of the house.
Yeah, man. Like, you know, just going on these little trips and whatnot and spending some time outside. Like it's much more fulfilling. So I've been going back to that basically. You know, if I was going to do another new channel, it would be probably on philosophy. If I had to think about one.
You mean like this podcast half the time?
Yeah, dude, we could go over some right now, man. I have a new theory or a new thing that I've been doing. It's called negative self-help, or yeah, it's like negative self-help. You know how like people always try to be like the secret and be super positive, which, hey, the secret can work. I do get that, but it takes action, not necessarily just thinking. But you know, you can have that, and that's great maybe to start with, and that can kind of get people into like a good mood, which makes you feel good. And then, you know, you can like repeat your little mantras in the mirror and you feel like you've done something for the day. Sure. I don't think that works. What I find really, really helpful is actually recently I've been listening to these interviews with people who have survived the Holocaust, for example, or anything that was like super fucking difficult, right? So even some people getting out of Ukraine recently, for example. But I like to listen to those, especially the people from the Holocaust, because they went like years and years and years in just conditions that like it's not that we can't imagine them. We have no way of conceiving these conditions even exist in our first world.
What, Viktor Frankl?
His book is actually really, really amazing, but it doesn't really go over like the horrors that you would see there. It does go over some, but really listening to these people and like what they dealt with on a day-to-day basis, and as they go into detail of like, just, dude, such like horrific things that almost you want to start crying as well, man. You know, you can only hear about like babies being fucking pulled apart by people for so long before it's just like,
what are you on about now? Jesus.
I know. It's really awful. But here's kind of the positive thing about it is that there's some people who actually survived that. They fucking survived it, seeing all of this really, really awful and terrible things happen. They fucking survived it, and they are actually still pretty normal after the event. Yes, they have a lot of emotional baggage with it, but they can still hold a normal conversation. They can still be integrated into society. And to me, that is the most fascinating fucking thing of all time, because most people would first not survive that. And second, if they did, they would crumble from the emotional weight of it. I mean, you just like you can't like no one's supposed to be able to deal with these things, but to hear those people speak and then talk about how they got through it, to me, that is actually very enlightening. Because they all pretty much have the same thing in common, which is what Frankl goes over, which is having some sort of a purpose, having some sort of a purpose, working towards that, reminding yourself of that, even in the most difficult of circumstances, you can actually still get through something like that, which is just unbelievable, unfucking believable.
So it's like the processes that they've created to help them through these experiences.
Yes, exactly.
So maybe you've still got some pain, some suffering. You're like, what else can I implement into my own life to better myself?
Right.
Rather than coming at it from the positive sense.
Yeah, exactly. Because things aren't always going to be positive, right? Like when I hear like Kim Kardashian, for example, talk about spirituality, it's like everything's great, everything's beautiful. It's like, no, it's not. It's really not, and you have to go to some third world countries to understand that, hey, man, when you see like, I don't know, someone who's like real poverty, or if you see, just a kid who never has a fucking chance, is that beautiful? Fuck off. Like, fuck you. Fuck you. That's not, it's really, really difficult.
Guys, viewers, I will spin this back to something positive for sure. We'll get there.
This is the negative podcast, man. But it's like that sort of spirituality, I think it's a wrong lens to look at in the world, because there's just going to be situations that are not fucking fun to deal with, and there's no way that you can spin it where it's just like, this is a good thing. But you can spin things in the sense of like, I can get through this, I can benefit from it, and I can maybe even add some value elsewhere. So the way that a lot of these people kind of got through it, it was like the same sort of thread, in the sense that they were living for something outside of themselves. So for some people, that would be like their kids. They want to make sure that they can, protect them, obviously. So that's like a big motivation to kind of keep their head on straight. Very noble, of course, as well. Other people wanted to be able to tell the story to others so that they could stop it happening in the future. And that was very important to them. So because it was very important to them, they, could deal with like not fucking eating for a month or two, which, dude, if I don't eat for a day, like there's no way I'm going to survive. It has to be a steak. And it's like they're getting, a piece of bread, dude, and then working all day, man. No one or we don't work all day, in the first world. We don't know what real, true hard work is, except for people maybe doing construction. Physical. Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. So to me, that is so fucking inspiring, because it's just, you can think of the worst thing, and then somehow, some way, even a few people got through that and they actually benefited from it. That to me is just like incredible, fucking incredible. So yeah, man, there's your positive message of the day. Going through all that. It also really starts to fuck with you too, because man, I've listened to like, it's got to be 10 different interviews that are all 3 to 5 hours long. And oh my God, dude, it's the worst of the worst of the worst. And
wow. You need some uplifting. I guess that's uplifting for you. I was listening to Joe Rogan podcast 1780.
Okay. Which one was that?
Reading it off here. Majid Nawaz.
Ah, yeah, that was a very interesting one. Yeah, I did see that one. Yeah, so, yeah, he's an interesting character. I follow him on Twitter as well, and he seems to have some interesting takes. Absolutely. I just get a little bit on edge with some of these guys, because I think they might be a little bit too on one side, but it's just hard to tell for me. So I don't really know where to go with it. But did anything in particular?
He had, it was more like, you could see the one side. He's talking with Joe Rogan, so all of a sudden you just say right-winged, all this sort of crap, But
right.
He's come from a few different experiences and had those experiences to actually meet with people and go to these war-torn places and meet different politicians, and go through the whole vaccine thing that's happened over the last couple of years to do with the mandates. That was really interesting. If anyone's interested in listening to that, or if they have listened to it, and then following on from that, this was my brother that sent it to me. So Michael, where I sent you a video from him this week, where he created that 7-minute video about the threat of CBDCs.
That was amazing, man.
Yeah, and cryptocurrencies. And when he told me about this podcast, I was like, you were watching the podcast and you got inspired to create the video. So yeah, it's, for guys listening, watching, 7 minutes. He basically create Michael's video. It's on YouTube. Just a storytelling of what's gone on with the monetary system, and then what CBDCs could end up, like how they could eventually, I guess, not necessarily destroy us, but it could be very, very bad for
like control.
Control, yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, and that kind of did ring up a few light bulbs for myself because, yeah, I mean, that's what it will essentially allow whatever governing authority to do theoretically. It doesn't mean that they're going to do it, but they will have the power to do that, which, it only takes one person to kind of tip the history in that sort of the scale, and we are kind of trending towards that direction naturally. And there's one thing that I believe in, which is human psychological trends. And that's something that I think is probably going to get worse before it maybe gets better. Maybe
I'm yet to find anyone in crypto, even new retail investors, once they learn about CBDCs, so central bank digital currencies, to say that they are a good thing. I haven't heard anyone say that they think CBDCs Have you heard anyone saying, like, putting a spin on it, saying CBDCs
like just an average
good?
person? No, I haven't, and that's what I'd actually like to hear. Like, I'd want to hear just the other side of it from not someone in the central bank.
I'm going to do a Twitter poll on that.
That'd be interesting.
I'm just writing notes, doing a Twitter poll on that one. I reckon that's a great one. That's interesting.
Oh, there
was a news article I also saw not on top of, but similar to CBDCs. It was the US creating eCash. I think if I got that right, it could be something similar to an eCash, but it wasn't a CBDC, and there was no ledger. And so whatever eCash you had was on your phone, and you lost your phone, you lost the cash. The same, like if you lost your wallet.
It's kind of similar.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So they couldn't control it. It was there for privacy. It was there to replace cash, but it did function far more like cash than CBDCs.
Right.
Obviously, it's government created, so who knows how much we can trust it. But that was at least kind of positive. I don't want to just be negative on government all the time.
Yeah.
But I kind of am.
Well, I think, the thing is, the thing is that talking about it almost is a fool's errand, just because there's in my opinion, there's no way that it's not going to happen. Like, we're trending towards that direction. Things are trending towards a digital nature in general. It's inevitable to happen. So it's more so like a more interesting talking point to discuss, like, what does this mean for the future, and how is this going to change our lives? If at all, which I think it probably does. But how does it change things, and where do you go from there? Because I'm 99.99% sure it's going to happen no matter what. Like, people are going to fucking protest against it. Doesn't fucking matter, man.
You're saying that they're going to switch to central bank digital currencies?
I mean, everything trends towards the higher technological version of it. Like, we don't like regress in our means of communication. Like, we don't go from a fucking cell phone back to a regular landline phone. Like, and it's quite literally the opposite. I saw that really happened.
Meme where it's like, before crypto, you have your smartphone. After crypto, it's like a Nokia 3310 again.
Yeah, except for like the true diehard, like crazy believers. I don't think that that's relevant to the majority of people. Which this space will definitely attract that sort of a person, but there's such a small minority that it just does not matter. I'm curious, did you have any opinion on Elon Musk buying Twitter?
I didn't get.
I think that'll change things.
I saw a tweet, and then I saw Mr. Hex, Richard
Hart
go on about it.
Opportunities missed.
Yeah, just saying that he didn't buy it. He has 9%. I think he bought 9% of the company. Yeah,
and it's passive shares too.
Oh, it's huge, but it's not majority share.
Right. Well, passive shares, I don't think that they have like voting rights or.
No.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. CS seems a little bit interesting to me, but I think people are like trying to hope that it's going to change things on Twitter. I think that that's misguided, man. I mean, think about it. Like, if you're Elon Musk and you actually did have that power to change things, which I don't believe that he does, just to be 100% clear, but even if he did
post, he went through all the documentation of Twitter's what do you call it? Their laws or their whatever it is of the company.
Yeah.
And there's no way that he's changing shit. But anyway, go on.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah. But even if he could, I don't think it'd change much anyways, because think about it. Like, if Twitter has what, 1 billion users, maybe somewhere around 1 billion, I believe.
All right.
If even 0.001% of those billion users are like absolute fucking lunatic, crazy, psycho killer people, and they start posting like crazy shit, and he were to make it, full on free speech, then what's going to happen there? The critics of him and Twitter will just conflate those people with Musk and be like, Musk aligns with these sort of people, and it's just not going to fucking work.
400 million users as of January.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there probably should be some censorship. Like, there's some really crazy people out there. The problem is that we. the thing, but think about it, man. Like, we have this really bad habit of thinking of ourselves like other people, like we're like, okay, yeah, free speech, it just means that you're free to express your mostly normal opinions anyways. But that's not the same thing for like a fucking child rapist, okay? Like, they're free. I'm sorry, but maybe there should be some censorship on something like that. Or what if someone was out there like teaching people how to make bombs so that they can go bomb whatever terrible place to bomb, right? Like, some of that probably needs to be censored, I'd guess. The problem is that we just don't consider that when we think about free speech. We just think of like, I support this political candidate, and it's like, no, you're a Nazi because you do that. It's like, okay, that is of course free speech. That's fine. Like, no shit.
That seems just absolutely stupid. And obviously things have gone out of control. The polarity's gotten worse. Part of the cycle that we're in now is that war cycle, and just things getting worse before they get better, which they will get better, as everything always has done over history.
Right.
I was thinking about the censorship. I mean, it doesn't really solve anything by censoring it, because
no, you don't destroy the opinion, or you don't reverse the opinion. Right.
So if it's out there, I'm just floating some thoughts. If it's out there, the majority of people are still not going to be interested in child trafficking, sex porn, whatever to do with children. Like, we always go to the worst end.
That is true.
The majority aren't going to be interested in it. It's not going to come in their algorithm feeds, and if it does, then they can report and do that sort of thing. Obviously, I'm not saying that it has to go that way, but if it's there, it's there, and it's they're saying, oh, some people that might be interested in it will find it. It's like, well, they're going to find it anyway because they're interested in it.
Right.
So
yeah, that's
I don't know.
You bring up a really good point there. I mean, if you want to get into a difficult conversation, this would be a good one. It's like, maybe it shouldn't be banned. Maybe. Okay, and I don't believe this. Okay, I'm just saying this as an argumentative point.
Ideas.
But I do not believe this again. But maybe it's a good idea to have child pornography legal out there, so that the people who are interested in that, they don't actually go again. I don't actually believe this, but maybe it's better, because then they can go out there and do something that's harmless. Or maybe it's like it's CGI generated. Okay, it's not like actually even real. It's CGI generated, right? Maybe they can go and get their fantasies out that way, because that's just the way that they're built, I guess. Maybe, whatever the fuck. I don't fully understand it, but yeah, so they get it out that way. It's CGI. No one actually gets hurt. They get their fucking rocks off or whatever. And then, we don't have to do, maybe they're like less inclined to go and, do it in real life. I don't know. Would that be a net positive? I mean, would that be a good thing?
I think only if you attach NFTs and rewards to
it. You bring up a phenomenal point, and I have nothing to say back to that. That's right. Tokenize it. Okay. Get it on the blockchain, and there we go. But yeah,
pumping child fiddling coin.
Yeah. Oh God, man. Okay, so this podcast is definitely canceled now, and this is our last episode. Thank you very much for tuning in.
Yeah,
we made it to 20. It's pretty good. It's pretty fucking good. Yeah, man. That's couldn't have thought of a better response, man. Yeah, just put it on an NFT. Yeah, fucking great idea, man.
FiddlerCoin.
That's awful. That's so awful. Oh my god, dude. Oh my fucking god.
You could build out a whole metaverse around that, Eric.
I mean, dude, that's probably going to be coming in the not so distant future. I've seen on Steam, which is like consumer level.
Steam.
Okay, yeah, so you know what Steam is. All right, you buy video games on there. For VR games, there's like porno games there now, and like you just go on Steam and
Steam, the failed cryptocurrency.
Oh no! No, it's like a video game platform where you buy games.
I've got no idea.
Okay, yeah. So it's just like it's the biggest venue to buy video games on, basically. And there's these like VR porn games where, I mean, it's exactly what it sounds like. You know, it's exactly what it sounds like. So I suppose at some point it'll all be in that world anyways. And I guess the moralistic argument will be, well, it's not real. No one's actually getting hurt, so might as well allow it. I don't know. That's going to be a really interesting conversation to have at the global scale when it comes about, though, because man, things are going to get fucking nasty. But you know, we have games where we fucking kill people already, so you know. Like that seems pretty bad to me, man. It's like you're shooting someone in the head, but you can't have sex with someone. One of them's natural. The other one's like, you know, you're killing someone. So to me, it's just a bizarre thing. But that also might just kind of be like a Western country thing as well. You know, I think maybe it's the other way elsewhere.
What's a Western country thing?
Well, like being prude around sex and sexual type of things. Like, for example, in America, we can't show sex on screen or bare titties or anything like that, but you can show someone getting their head blown off in a very violent manner, or you know, a fight, you know, stuff like that. That's completely acceptable. It does seem like a bit of a strange thing. You know, again, one is natural. Yeah. So I don't know. Is it the same way over there in Australia? Is that like okay?
Oh, I don't know because I don't have TV, but. Like, do you mean like on normal TV? Just
on normal TV.
I guess there's tits on TV for sure.
Really?
Yeah, but at certain hours, and then they'll have the different ratings on them as well. You know, it can only be seen after 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Those things are around. That's like
it might just be an American thing then. Yeah, might just be an American thing.
Well, they don't blur it out when you watch it on TV.
They do. They definitely blur it out. Absolutely.
Really? No,
yeah,
blur it out,
totally. Okay, so it is probably an American thing then. Yeah, I guess. Oh, strange, man. Very, very strange.
In the comments. Yeah.
I'd actually be interested to know, but I do know that here in Europe, it's the same way that you're kind of describing in Australia, where you can definitely have that, but you actually can't show violence or like super aggressive violence on regular TV. That's completely out the window. So it's kind of like the inverse, but yeah, man. Just
what would say, like, where would you draw the line is super aggressive? But yeah, I don't really think we have super aggressive shit like that.
Yeah, but then again, I mean, everyone's fucking obsessed with these goddamn like crime, you know, documentaries and crime shows and shit like that. Where it's like, why are we so obsessed with these things, man? Where you just follow someone around who, you know, is like a psychopathic murderer and make a whole show around it.
Dexter again.
Well, stuff like that, man. That's one of many that are very popular. I mean, one of the most popular shows in America was like CSI. Like they had a million different seasons and different spinoffs from it, stuff like that, man. It's like, why are we so interested in this shit? You know, this should be like the most abhorrent sort of stuff that we should, you know, be wanting to get away from. But instead we work all day and, you know, spend ourselves that way. And then how do we relax at night? By watching a documentary of like a fucking mass murderer, you know, like a John Gacy or something like that. It's kind of strange, man. It's very, very strange. Is that a good positive note to leave this one off on, however?
FiddlerCoin. Kitty FiddlerCoin.
FiddlerCoin. Oh my god, dude. Yeah, please don't make that coin. And if you do not mention us. Okay, you got that idea by yourself, and we'll be signing off.
Soundbite from you.
Just terrible, man. Yeah, this one's definitely going to be cut up in all sorts of awful ways, man. But it has been a pleasure.
No AdSense from this.
Gonna get that old warning from YouTube. Yeah, man, it's been a pleasure. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for all of your time listening to our rambles. And of course, if Eric remembers, the links will be in the description where you can have your second NFT of Jason over there. Go and join me on Twitter.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. It's been a pleasure as always. We'll be back next week, same time, same place. Take care. Fiddlers out.